This is Corey Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
This is Dan, owner of D&J Diesel Performance.
I'm Braden Fleece, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today. On today's episode, I wanted to take the opportunity to answer 4 questions that we've been getting a lot of over the last 4 to 6 weeks. And there's YouTube comments and direct messages and emails, tons of different things where I felt it would be best to answer them on an episode because there's probably a lot of other listeners out there that have the same questions. So I'm just going to take a few of them here and go through them. The first one, I saw it on YouTube, but it's also been echoed through, Instagram and Facebook and other places. And somebody said, hey, it's great, you guys are talking about compliant parts, and you had a lawyer on to talk about the Clean Air Act, and a shop owner and a racer. Why aren't you guys championing going back to pre-DPF EGR trucks? How come I'm not hearing episodes demanding that take place? And the thing is if we can have one wish, and I think a lot of diesel truck owners and enthusiasts would, is we'd love to have a 2019-2020 truck with all the technology, better materials, higher tow rating, better transmissions, all the things that go into making these trucks probably the best that could ever be purchased, but with a 5.9 common rail, with an LBZ engine, a LB7, 7.3 Power Stroke, or something else that didn't have the amount of emissions controls either in the engine with an EGR or in the exhaust system. However, to be able to talk about that with a guest, that guest would need to be very familiar with all that goes into emissions regulations, not just what we can and can't do, but the political side of it. How are these proposed? What processes do they go through? How far in advance are these things planned to where the OEMs know, hey, in 2, 3, 5, 7 years, you need to do this? And more importantly, not just that, but how do you change it? How in the future do you change those things? And there's been some fantastic arguments, we could even say, where, the diesel community, it feels like it's getting beat up on. It feels like we're under fire, and in some ways I would say we are. But people have said, hey, all right, well, we have to have these, DPFs and urea and EGR and all these other things on our trucks. What about the pollution that's caused by making an electric vehicle? What about the destruction to the landscape with the mining for different components that they need? And those are all very valid points, and something that we want to do on the podcast, and it's a focus of ours, is to be able to bring those topics to an episode, be able to talk to guests that feel comfortable, that are knowledgeable about it, and also maybe even talk about technology that can go into diesel engines that will make them different than the way we've always thought about them. So we want to let you guys know that it's not that we don't want that, not that we don't appreciate the older diesels, the higher quality diesel fuel, all the things that we think about in the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s with trucks. It's just something to cover that topic and do it intelligently and informatively. It takes guests that feel comfortable with it and are knowledgeable about it. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily quick or easy to get those guests on, but we hear what you guys are saying. We do agree with you, and it will be part of some future episodes that we do. The other part, and this was a really interesting question, and again, I think it's because there's a lot of new diesel owners, and particularly those finding the podcast. Somebody said, hey, why do you guys have sponsors? Like, there's all these logos on your podcast cover. And it's a great opportunity because I don't think we've ever talked about it in depth on an episode before. But, doing a podcast, this is our full-time job. It's not something we do on a Friday afternoon or in the evenings, or that we collect, our boss says, hey, you need to go do a podcast. It's not how this works. And we don't fund it by part sales. We don't have a website we direct you guys towards to buy a part from us and take the profit and then invest it in the podcast. It's really, in a way, it's a dream of ours. It's not just myself. It's a team of people that each have a specialty. And they're tied together by the fact they love diesel trucks. They love the engines. And we get to talk about it for a living. Like, sometimes it's crazy to think about. Like, I get to talk to some of the most knowledgeable, interesting, passionate people about a motorsport that we all love as a career. And sometimes I have to pinch myself and say that this is actually real. The process of doing it, it wasn't easy. It's not like, one day we got a mic and call somebody up and, it's up and running. It's been a very insightful process, being able to, meet so many different kinds of people in different parts of the industry and the community that I never thought I would meet. I never thought I'd have some of our guests on, be able to talk to them. I never thought a lot of you guys that just, send in a message and it's like a 7-paragraph essay. And it's talking about a build that you had and why it was special to you, or why you're upset that, you can't do things to your truck anymore, or what parts are going to be available, or, wanting to hear from someone specifically. So, in that, we don't have a parent media company that's just bankrolling the podcast and paying us to do it. We don't have a e-commerce site that we're pushing you guys to buy a part from us to be able to get a paycheck from the podcast. It's not what we do. The partners that we have, they do a few things. One is they provide us with amazing content, because we're able to talk with the founder, the CEO, the general manager, an engineer, a designer, a racer, an editor of a magazine, somebody who's putting together a race series every year. So we're able to get access to people that have a tremendous amount of knowledge. Then 2 is, with these partners, it's not like we just have a neon sign in front of the podcast, so to speak, that says, hey, want to be a partner, just sign up. It doesn't work like that. It's something where we're very picky. We're very stringent, because I've been talking to you guys for almost 5 years now on this podcast. And even though it's through a mic, you guys are listening, in your truck or, on your headphones, you guys are working. There's an amount of trust and respect that's developed by doing that. And if I'm talking to a guest and they're, talking about a product and saying, hey, this is going to make a truck run better, or this is going to improve this or that, I want to make sure it does. It's either a part I've ran on my truck, someone I know has run it on their truck, or that I would, something I believe in, something that I can stand behind. So when, my voice is on one of these episodes, I feel comfortable and trust that the message you're being given is the truth. And it's another option out there for you guys that are looking for an engine or turbocharger or lift pump, or, an intercooler, or injectors, or transmission, whatever it might be. It's very important to me. And so I wanted to, kind of let you guys in, on that side and explain, why we do that, who we are, as the podcast, and to just be upfront with what we do, how we view what we do. And that's why we can do these episodes. Like, the amount of downloads and feedback over the last 4 to 6 weeks, whenever the EPA initiative came out, it won't be covered like that anywhere else, because it can't be. However, we knew that was what you guys wanted to hear. You wanted to hear different perspectives, and that's why we did it. That's why we always will do it. So I wanted to explain a little bit about that to those that, wonder why there's, 20 plus companies that are on the cover, and why I talk about, with some of these guests about, their engines or whatever part it is. It's because they have the track record, they have the customer service, they have the experience, and most of all, they have the commitment to the diesel industry and whatever it is that they build. This leads into the third question, And this was, hey, I really want to hear from this particular person or this company. How do I get them on? And everyone's on social media. It's a major part of our individual lives and also with companies. Is when we get those requests, I look at it. If I don't know anyone at the company, I'll call in, ask for their marketing department or PR department, and try to get in touch with someone. But when we can really make things happen is when you, the listener, if you tag these companies. So it could be in a post on our Instagram or Facebook. It could be something you guys post, and you say, hey, go, whatever company it is, you need to go on at the Diesel Podcast, talk to them about this. I really want to hear it. They do see that information. They do, they hear the noise. And so the more of that you guys can do with either the people or the products or the companies, whatever it is that you want on the podcast, just make sure you let them know. Definitely send us a message. Like I said, I follow up with everyone that we get, and a lot of times they have busy schedules and we can't get them on right away, but we eventually do. But if it's somebody or a company that you want to hear from right away about any aspect of owning a diesel truck, just make sure, tag both of us on Instagram or Facebook. Or if you send an email in, send it to us, copy them, or send it to them, copy us. It definitely helps open the conversation and allows us to be able to get, these companies on. And the last question, and this one, especially for all the truck owners out there, this is one of my favorite types of podcasts to do, and that's with you guys. And the question could be phrased a number of different ways, but it's usually somebody with either a really good story for a build. It doesn't have to be a 2,500 horsepower truck. It doesn't have to be a new truck. But there's a really good story that's behind it. And you want to know how to be a guest on the podcast. And really the best way is just to send us a message. Whether, Instagram, Facebook, you can email us at hello@thedieselpodcast.com. We check all of those all the time. And, the really cool thing, about being a podcast is we're not trying to do a radio show. We're not trying to do a TV show. That's not at all what this is. This is about, it's like the name of the podcast, the Diesel Podcast. That's what we're talking about. Diesel trucks, diesel performance, anything related to diesel. And we don't want, professional, theatrical sort of thing. So, a lot of times I hear, well, I'm not good at public speaking, or, I might not be the best speaker. What makes it real is you guys talking about what you're passionate about. So whether you are a public speaker, whether you have done TV, radio, film, music, whatever it is, or you haven't, that's not what's important. What's important is your guys' passion. So I'd say don't be intimidated. Just send us a message, say, hey, this is what I got. This is what I'd love to talk about. I think a lot of your listeners would be interested. And, just let me know your availability. So there's messages that are in Instagram right now with a whole bunch of episodes, whether it's a BMW diesel, a first gen Cummins, there's an older, it's a C10 with a Duramax swap in it. There's somebody that wants to come on and talk about the future of diesel and emissions. And it's not a politician or an engineer. It's a guy like all of us that loves his trucks and wants to make sure that in the future, him or, his kids have the ability to enjoy the motorsport. Sometimes it's somebody with a new product, something brand new. And we're always interested in being able to talk about things that are new, things that are really going to help the diesel community. And so I want to encourage you guys to do that. If you want to come on, do any one of those methods. Either send us a direct message on Facebook, Instagram, email us at hello@thedieselpodcast.com, or if you hear this on YouTube, you can leave a comment and let us know. We love having you guys be a part of this podcast to talk about, whatever it is you're passionate about. Some of my favorite episodes are hearing about a restoration or a street build on a truck and, pushing the envelope and making a 9-second pass on a stock bottom end diesel engine, or, what it was like coming up with a solution for this on the suspension or whatever it might be. I love talking about that because that's how I got into diesels. I didn't get into it because I was paid to do it as a career. I was in something totally different, a whole other industry. But I knew once I saw race, I think I've talked about this on a few podcasts, is I don't remember exactly what year this is, if it was 2008 or 9, but I saw a race at Bandimere Speedway, the Duramax, I think it was 2 Duramax trucks. No, it was a Duramax and a Cummins, and it was actually the Scheid truck. And I didn't really know much about diesel trucks. I saw him go down the quarter mile, and from there I was hooked. And to me, it was always something about combining the reliability, the torque, the power potential with the longevity and reliability that all goes into these trucks. And so that's what I love to hear about. That's what I naturally gravitate towards, was what makes diesel special. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. Definitely want to hear from more of you. I want to have more episodes with you guys, our listeners, talking about your trucks, your ideas, your builds, whatever it might be related to diesel. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. All right, we've got some really big episodes planned coming up. We've got some SEMA coverage. We've got some more insights on engines, turbochargers. Got some YouTube personalities that are going to be part of some future episodes. And so just make sure, guys, and reach out to us. Let us know on social media or email what you're wanting to hear from, and tag us. I want to see you guys tag us with companies or guests that you want on, and start getting these, rolling these out. We're doing 3 episodes a week, and we may be going more. We might be doing 5. So just make sure that you guys do that. Give us feedback. Let us know. And we're going to be excited to record these. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.